To our panel. So I'm Chris from mVAS, and I will introduce the panelists in a bit. I will start with a very short introduction of our topic. The main topic is marketing mVAS services and outcompeting in a crowded market. So our idea is to give you a few hints on what you can do for your services to be maybe a bit better. As we know, on Google, all markets got super competitive. The whole industry moved to Google a couple of years ago, and it's very difficult to find this small edge in certain markets on how to be better than the others and getting a higher market share in general. So I will start with a very short intro with high-level basics, but I believe those things are like the super basics that everyone should follow. And let me start quickly on, especially given the policy issues that everyone is facing this year. So the landing page and creative optimization is the most important part. So showing transparency and clear content offerings. So everyone was in a lot of markets running quite generic campaigns, and this is still working in some markets, but we all need to move our mindset and actually promote good products on the services to stay long time approved with Google and running huge volumes. Use trending, branded content. This is also making it so much easier for us as an agency if our clients actually have good and having good brands connected to it, then we can create beautiful campaigns, video ads to scale the services. Localization should be a standard, but we still see many companies in a lot of markets, they don't really localize their services in terms of looks, language support, and a few other topics as well. Like also supporting all local languages. Like, let's say a market like Switzerland. No one is taking care of Italian language, even if it's like 5–10% of the population. Or so you should try to have a setup for all users who are living in the market. In terms of reporting and performance, so for us as an agency, we push all our clients to have a very clear control of the KPIs, to understand the ARPU of the users. Because in the end, we're an agency. We don't see the billing. We don't see the churn. So we need guidance from our partners. This campaign is good. This is bad. Push more on this. So it's very important that our clients share with us a certain amount of information so we can do the best job for them. Then should also be a standard, but we see on a lot of websites, their loading their loading time is very slow. And also clean domain reputation is very important. We saw it in UAE recently. Now carriers are asking to have a full check page on certain platforms like VirusTotal to ensure just have your domains cleaned and be sure that no one is flagging your domains, because Google is probably also accessing this data, and this might also be a reason for getting the campaigns suspended. Testing different bidding strategies. Louis already shared some good insights on this. A/B testing high-performing assets. So when you found your 2–3 assets that are converting, create variations of this and A/B test constantly on the top-performing assets. And then also basic on, you probably cannot see it, but it's about infrastructure. For us, stability is the king. We had amazing services, but then our partners had like a downtime of their system, the aggregator system. All those downtimes affect the performance, and it can take days or sometimes weeks to get back to the previous scenario, especially in this learning period that everyone has on Google. In the first 4 weeks, we need stability. Like if we have to stop or pause for a day or two, it can have a bad impact on the performance. So for us, stability is king, and we rather work 2–3 more weeks longer with a partner on the setup rather than just launching it fast, because that's not the key to success from our perspective. And now we would slide into the panel. No, this is for later. So I will introduce everyone here. This is Selvin from Clickstream. Maybe you want to say a few words.
Yeah, so I'm Selvin from Clickstream. I've got several years, now 8 years in mVAS experience on the acquisition side mainly. And yeah, Clickstream is the, let's say, the mVAS network next to what mVAS is offering on Google. I would say the best way to say it is that we offer everything except Google. So I think that in short would be would be the best way to say it, even though it's about Google. But let's keep it short.
Yes. And then we have Louis from Google. I think most of the people here have seen his panel, and he's one of the most experienced. Sorry, I'm doing the introduction for you now, but you talked a lot already. He's one of the most experienced mVAS focus account managers on Google, so he really understands the business and can really help you and your services. You know, when you have decent budgets, you know what he requests to provide you the best possible service.
Actually, is this working? I don't know. But thank you for the introduction, because I think I went right into my content and I didn't really introduce myself. Yeah. So thank you for that.
And there's Alessio, he's the CMO of mVAS and running all the campaigns and managing the media buying team at mVAS. And maybe you say a few words about yourself.
Yeah, I've been, I am indeed like the head of media buying and CMO in mVAS. I've been running campaigns in Google for now, I would say 6-7 years. And now, with this new adventure, we are trying to help the content provider and other companies to succeed into this very competitive environment.
Very good. So I want to start right in. First, Louis, I really liked your presentation as it was not generic. You went quite specific on certain topics, but maybe we can dig a bit deeper. So maybe you can explain the key advantages of Google, because we will also talk about other platforms in a bit. What do you see as the key advantages of Google Ads as a DSP or performance-based platform against the competition, and maybe also some limitations, if you want or can share?
I think maybe my friend Selwyn here might disagree on some things that I'm going to say, but for me, obviously, Google has the best quality traffic that you can acquire from any other platform that will give you traffic. So if we are able to launch a successful operation within Google, no other platform will give you as good results as Google will, for different reasons. One, obviously, because we're able to exclude the traffic from different operators, so the quality that you're receiving is ensured for the most part. Obviously, there's always a percentage of error, but for the most part, you can ensure that it's quality that you actually want to acquire. Two will be the reach that Google has. Obviously, with our 9 billion users across our different platforms around the world, it makes it a star reference when it comes to acquiring clients. So if we are, and to the point of the limitations, I think the only limitation within Google is just to hit the proper keys so that we can launch successful campaigns. Because once they start ramping up and getting the right amounts, and I know a few here in the audience have done it, the results are endless. I mean, you can get as many conversions as you need for the price that it's way lower than the CPA that you were aiming for, so it makes the operation very profitable. So the right part would be, and obviously we're experiencing right now kind of a phase, and with a lot of Google things, it's like that. Like we go in waves. Sometimes the process can seem harsher than in other times, but in general, if you're able to launch a successful Google campaign or Google operation, the results will always be fantastic. And now we're migrating, and that's probably one of my reasons of being here, and you're going to hear it from me a lot. We need to migrate from the typical way of doing business, where my solely focus is acquiring customers, whatever, the how, into, okay, how do I start doing this sustainable in time, but in a fashion that it makes sense for Google as well? So how do I make my operation more legit, quote unquote, obviously, and how do I make sure that the products that I'm pushing for are within the compliance levels or requirements that we need? So if we're able to do that, Google will always be a great channel for acquisitions. We just want to make sure that we're doing it the right way. And it doesn't help the industry if we are halfway through, in terms of we build something compliant here, but then if I turn the other way, I'm going to see a lot of things that I don't want to see. So if we're able to make the whole industry shift into a more compliant way of doing business, it's going to benefit everybody at the end of the day. So I think that's something that we really need to strive for, and that's the main limitation. I'm sure there's going to be a performance conversation there, whereas perhaps we're not going to get the same results that we were used to, but it's sustainable in time. Most of the things that I'm seeing right now are really not sustainable, and I think that's why it has become such a hot topic right now in terms of policies, etc. But again, I'm always very, cheerful of the fact that Google will always be your best channel, and if we get it right, the sky's the limit.
Thank you for that, and we will tackle the policy topic, trying to tackle it a bit deeper later on. Let's see. First, I want to ask Alessio on, I know you prepared some examples because we're always pushing also our clients for the eye on the detail that is sometimes overseen. So we just grabbed some examples. We are personally using MCP Insights and scanning, of course, the competitions and everything. So I don't know if there will be services from any of you in the room, but we just grabbed some examples we consider as good and some as not so good. And Alessio will explain a bit our reasoning why we believe it's like that. So I will show those few examples here. I don't know. Yeah, maybe the lower.
Can you see the middle? It's okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right. Yeah. Thanks, Chris, for the introduction. First of all, just to introduce the topic, I would like to say that especially if you have like an experienced media buying team, Google doesn't have a lot of secrets in general. Like as long as you know all the features, then at the end, what you can do, I wouldn't say is limited, but all the experienced media buyers know how to make Google work. So what I always say to my team is that the work is like 50% on Google, checking the data, creating campaigns, making the right change at the right timing in the campaign. But the other 50% of the job is in doing very good landing pages, both for what is the design part and the functionalities. I brought here like these 3 examples. Let's start with the first one on my right. And I like this type of landing pages because, especially now that download and more generic campaigns are not so in fashion or supported by Google anymore, it's giving like all the information that the user need. I really like also the use of the color, and is quite explanatory of what you need to do. Same thing. The second example, like I don't speak Polish, but it's really straightforward what is this landing page about. Like we are talking about a gaming service, and I really like that also below the scroll, as you can see, like in the second screenshot that we took, there is like a lot of content with some little trial content that you can play with. And I think this really engages the user and gives all the information that the user needs to subscribe and achieve the end of the flow. And as a third example, even if Luis doesn't like it, but I know that everybody here likes this kind of campaign. Let's leave for the moment like download and generic aside, but what I really liked, I don't know if it's really visible, but when I tested these landing pages, I was like surprised that because we think we do like very good job now in optimizing our landing pages, but I didn't think about this thing. Like basically, when the user clicks outside of the MSISDN entry flow, it gets like the MSISDN entry flow box, gets highlighted. So the user get very clear the instruction that they need to enter their phone number.
Yeah, and maybe to add quickly, so most important is the focus area of the user from our perspective, what we are optimizing a lot. So a lot of people are putting the focus on the wrong spot because you want users to enter the MSISDN in general, so you would put as much focus as you can, and within the Google guidelines, of course, on highlighting that where you want the user to interact with on your page. Also on this page, they have a gray button here, but after you enter like a valid MSISDN, of course, you will have it highlighted and you get a nice check mark on giving some visual feedback to the user that he can now proceed to the next step. And maybe now showing a few examples that we didn't like so much. and Alessio will explain why.
Yeah, yeah. Let's start with the first one. This one, why we don't like it? Why we are not overly happy, with this type of design? Like you have like a lot of space above the button, but you're not making use of it. Like, what is this service about? Also, if I'm not wrong, this is a click flow, so let's engage the user with like some nice creativity. Second thing that I personally didn't overly like here is that the button looks inactive. Like the use of the color makes the button like a little bit off. It does, like if I were the target audience, I wouldn't think that this is a button that would take me to where also, because we don't have like a lot of information about. For the second one, the main issue, in my opinion, is that we don't have like any information. We don't have any information. I can also see that the stepper is not done properly, because it's starting from the left, but with a right orientation. So since this is like an Arab landing page, Arab language landing page, everything should start from the left. And here is not done properly, this part. And yeah, the lack of information, and then we have this loader that ends at 100%, but 100% of what? Like, would be nice also to add some more instruction and take the user by the hand and accompany until the end of the flow. And the last one, I mean, I like the way the information and the instruction are written. The main issue here is that once I enter the phone number, then what should I do? I should click on the button, but where is the button? I mean, it's like down there, 50% below the scroll. This is also like something that wouldn't help the user. Like what also Luis said before, like put yourself in the shoes of your target audience, of the user, and try to understand how they would interact with your assets and with your landing pages. Yeah.
All right, thanks for those examples. We keep them up here for a bit, but maybe the nicer ones. So,
please.
And so, question to both of you, kind of. So, about the user targeting, do you have any hints you can give to the audience? You already shared a bit during your panel, but maybe going a bit deeper. How can you target the converting users in the best way? What are the different strategies that, especially you, Alessio, are using, to target the best matching users for the services, and to share some actionable, hopefully, insights for the audience?
Yeah. To start off, I don't know if Google needs more advertising, but I really think that overall the Google career targeting, where available, works very well in most of the countries. But something that we know and we are trying to do is to also improve this part. Like something that I suggest everybody to do is like to understand what are for example, the IP address of the most converting users, and try to come up with the IP exclusion list. Also because apart from the countries that we know that where the career targeting is working very well, but I remember, for example, in Saudi when we had STC, and they had like the career targeting was not working properly. Like you were receiving always 50% of non-STC users. So this is where I would suggest everybody to work out your IP lists and come up with a good exclusion list for Google. The results are really paying off, I would say.
Do you have any further things, maybe also on the bidding modes, and because we always get the question, on all the different bidding modes that Google is offering, maybe some insights on this. What is mainly used from mVAS clients, and yeah.
Right. I think I'll leave that one to the end. I'll say first that there's 4 things that I really pay attention to. So the first thing would be which type of affinities I'm targeting with my campaigns. So based on the product that I have, am I really trying to look for volume of search within the users that I think are very interested in the product that I'm pushing for, and do a lot of A/B testing. Okay, try different groups of affinities, see how they perform, and then basically make them compete.
Yeah.
Okay, and we pause the ones that are not getting good results and invest more in the ones that do. The second thing that I pay attention to is obviously placements, which is very important because that way. So I always try to recommend, or I always recommend having like two different campaigns. One would be the pathfinder, and the other one would be the executioner. So when we establish the first type of campaign, that will give us a lot of information to work with, but it's like it's a working class campaign. Okay, so it will always be looking for more information, and it's not necessarily the one that you're optimizing the most, but it's the one that is feeding you that information. And then we separate campaigns based on the placements that this campaign is giving us, and we put more money or more investment in those placements that we know are actually converting. The third thing that I pay attention to is asset rotation. Okay, which of the assets that I've uploaded are actually converting and which ones are not, and again, do a lot of A/B testing. And finally, as Alessio was saying, it's very important that we're able to target the audiences within our telco, okay, or our operator that we want that traffic from. And that can be done either by the already segmentation that you can find directly with Google, or by adding the exclusion IP list that you want, that you don't want actually from.
Yeah.
So if we're able to do both at the same time, that will increase the quality of the traffic.
Yeah.
Okay, so those are the 4 things that I pay attention to. And in terms of bidding strategies, I think it's really super straightforward. Always start your campaigns with maximize conversions. That's it. There is no way I would recommend to anybody to change the bidding strategy into a CPC strategy unless there is a technical issue that we're not able to identify with maximize conversions. But still, maximize conversions should give you enough traffic to validate the technical part. So always start with maximize conversions, and then I would say probably 3 to 4 weeks in, we can start to think about changing it to target CPA as a main bidding strategy. And the way that I do it is to progressively set up target CPA that is achievable by the algorithm at that moment in time. So imagine we have run campaigns for 4 weeks now. We're receiving an average CPA with maximized conversions at 10. I need it at 6. A lot of you have seen that they go straight into changing target CPA at 6. And what happens? The campaign stops, basically. Or we don't consume the budget, or we don't have the amount of volumes that we need. So we gradually change that target CPA. If we're getting 10, we change it to 9.5. Then 2 weeks later to 9, and then so on and so forth until we can actually monitor that we're not losing volume at the time that we're achieving the CPA that we're pursuing. So just to do a quick recap, maximize conversions, eventually target CPA. And I'll keep it as simple as that.
And be patient.
And be patient, very patient.
Yes, I agree. And my last question, like really focus on the Google media buying, is do you see any new or innovative approaches? Because we're currently testing a lot of also different funnels. Because one of the problems probably also about mVAS is everyone is looking for the quickest conversion possible. So sending users straight to a payment page, which is not really common in other industries. So we're also testing like longer conversion funnels with pre-lenders. You can ask the users questions, pre-qualify them. And do you see anyone is using something like that on mVAS already? Or are there any other new things that you see, you know, what companies are trying out in the mVAS world?
Well, to be honest, I haven't seen a flow as the one that you're describing, but in terms of obviously product innovation, and you're going to laugh about this because probably if you have worked with an account manager, the chances of that person telling you to use PMAX is really high. I would say probably 100%. But now, PMAX was not really focused on the industry, but now we're trying to make PMAX like a real good channel for acquisitions apart from display. So it comes from for instance, having the possibility to now upload a list of IP exclusions in the product. So that's something that we didn't have before. I think, if I'm not wrong, it's still in beta testing, but it should be available for users very, very, very soon. So in terms of product, I think that's mostly it, to be honest. But I'm really curious about what you just mentioned now, about that upper funnel way of acquiring leads, because I think it makes sense at the end of the day.
I mean, we're looking also at other industries, and in the lead generation, for example, they mainly use such funnels, and I'm just saying why this cannot work on VAS as well, because in the end, we're also generating leads, right?
Yeah.
And in just a slightly different way. So I believe it's something to think about also in looking how others in other markets are converting the users. So, and it might be more compliant, and maybe Google would be a bit friendlier to everyone. Having
probably yes.
Having channels, yeah. And then moving shortly away from Google. So we have Selvin here representing Clickstream, and so he prepared a bit of content to introduce Clickstream, because actually we identified there are also other traffic sources than Google on the market, and we still believe, and we love Google, and Google will always be our main source of traffic, but we don't want to disregard the other channels, and to see what's possible on the social media channels, DSPs, and also what's happening with affiliates these days. And Selvin, maybe you can give a short intro of what Clickstream is doing, and what channels you see as valid alternatives to Google at the moment.
I already created a little bit of distance between me and Luis to make sure that, because we've been talking a bit about Google already, so I feel like I have to explain myself a little bit here. But yeah, I think Chris is right. Well, firstly, basically about Clickstream, it was born basically out of the need to differentiate from other traffic sources, or from Google as a source as well. So looking at Google is a very big traffic source, obviously, but there are many social media platforms where, looking at the audiences and the reach they have, which make very interesting to touch them real quick. So basically that's the need for. It was born out of that need, let's say, and there are different. There are different reasons for why you want to get out of Google, or at least differentiate your affiliates. Or affiliates, a bit of a weird word to say sometimes for content providers, but affiliation means nothing else than working with external partners to reach your target or to reach your goals for your services. So if you're a content provider, and definitely we would advise to talk together and to make a proper introduction, if we haven't introduced already, to talk about alternatives. So for example, a reason could be CPA-wise. There are several markets where it makes sense to check, because the competition can be pretty fierce. For example, Middle East could be an example. It makes sense to look at other DSPs, to look at SmartX. For example, if you look at the Kazakhstan market, there can be those users could be using Yandex more, which makes sense to look into those channels, or the channels where you can obtain the users from there. So.
Just to step in, Kazakhstan is a good example, because this is like a CIS country where Google has a high market share, but there's a valid other search engine provider called Yandex, and they have like 25% market share here. So, and no one is taking the effort on dealing with them, because they only look at Google. But maybe you can do 20-30% more, and being the only one, or one of the few ones that is running ads on Yandex in a similar fashion to Google, just to check what the markets have to offer, and then to adapt and maybe look at the alternatives.
Yeah.
But maybe getting one step back on the social media platforms, what Clickstream is covering, and maybe talking a bit more about what's there and what you see as a valid source for mVAS content providers.
Yeah, so many content providers already have been touching TikTok as a channel. It's been quite a journey for some regions to make it work. From my experience, I see in Europe it can be quite difficult to make it work. But we've seen good examples and good use cases in countries like South Africa, or in Middle East, in Iraq, for ClickFlows, where you can make direct connections to to a great account manager as well, and making it work on volumes. I mean, the target audience for TikTok is also an audience where you can basically scale pretty fast and pretty quick. And it's a bit different audience. Obviously, TikTok, we all know, can target a different user than Google. So it makes sense to also look at the type of content you have and the type of user or target audience that you're looking for this audience. And some promotions on TikTok can be amazing, you know, with great creatives, videos that you cannot, videos that only are useful for the TikTok as a platform. That could be a good example for content providers. What we see. Also, targeting only on iOS users is another example for Meta or for Facebook. That's quite a big trend for the last year. iOS users are usually higher in user value, so we see that especially through Meta. This has been quite an interesting new trend for us.
Now, how does it compare, like buying on Meta, the Snapchat or TikTok, in terms of cost, from your experience to the cost of Google traffic in general?
Well, it kind of depends per service, you know, the region where you are promoting. So, if you have the example for South Africa, I think on Google was at least a very competitive market for many years. TikTok kind of penetrated this market in terms of a traffic source for the past year, because CPMs and CPCs are way lower than the average for Google, and if you're able to crack what the users or the target audience on TikTok is looking for, like it's more entertainment value, and if you're able to focus your creatives or to make a little shift in your creatives on videos, right? So TikTok is mainly shifting on or working on videos, then you can basically enter a whole new market. So with Clickstream, we just try to make the content providers or the relationships we have understand that if you're dealing with ad account bans, or you're looking for other platforms, or you're looking for external partners that have made mVAS, for example, DSP traffic, a core business for many years, it makes sense to start running with those external partners as well, and that's what you try to do at Clickstream, just to keep a broad view on the possibilities there.
Thanks for that. And because we want to move shortly to the policy topic again, and is policy also an issue that you see with those social media platforms, and how is it treated, like not in comparison to Google, but is it like difficult to launch campaign, or?
I would say it's easier. Easier. I mean, for example, with Meta, we've seen huge waves of compliancy issues, and the next half year it could be way less. So there are kind of huge ways apparently in compliancy that Meta is using. For example, there's different criteria apparently appearing every month, and I would say it's easier to launch because there's fewer options, but also the algorithm of those social agencies or those social media companies they're amazing. They can work in favor for you, I would say DSPs are easier to work with in short.
DSPs for sure, I would
yes.
say, and also
yes.
for social media, I would say it's also sometimes with Meta, Snapchat, TikTok, it's just also the targeting is not as advanced as it's on Google Ads. So they mainly rely on their own algorithms, and you have to be very careful what offer makes sense to launch. Let's say you have only South Africa Vodacom, which is, I don't know, 25% market share, and then you cannot really target the operator. Then you have to decide if it makes sense or not, or if you rather go for another market that has full coverage, and then hope that their algorithms optimize the campaigns properly. While on Google, we can be much more granular and be in more control of the campaigns and steer the wheel.
Yep.
And maybe, Louis, if you don't want to answer, it's okay. But I want to ask you very specific questions. For example, we had campaigns launched a month or two ago by the books, the most beautiful big brand campaign, banners, all with their branding guidelines. It was not going to a payment page, it was going to a website. We had like 2-3 buttons that were sending the user to the landing page, and everything was nicely branded, all information there, pricing. We got 3 suspensions in a row, and so far we're still not live with this campaign. So for maybe a specific example like this, do you have any advice, or because after that I honestly got a bit more nervous, because we're still able to launch other campaigns that are way less branded, but this specific one gave us like a lot of headache, because we thought this is the nicest campaign we ever launched, and we couldn't get it live. It was suspended after 2-3 days, and we were losing the faith at this moment on what can we do.
It's really impossible to answer properly that question, because it has so many layers that I'll have to see your specific case to try to understand and basically do a research on what could be the causes for it. The reality is that how the review process works is that first, obviously, it's an automated review process, but then you also have a person that makes sure that everything that you're doing or uploading is compliant. Most of the times it could happen that the agent that made the review doesn't have like an understanding of exactly what you're doing, and is trying to limit their evaluation to very basic parameters. So it's basically a checklist.
Yeah.
Okay? If there's a point there that he is unsure about, then he's gonna target the campaign, he's gonna flag it. So what I do more than focusing, because there's a few best practices that we can try to implement. If even after that it's the same result, okay, so we're not getting the campaign through, then what we need to do is be very diligent in the appeal process. Because I've also seen a lot of customers or advertisers that when they appeal the suspension, they do it in a way that it's obvious that's gonna stay suspended. Let's say, I don't know, they type something, in the support box, something like, "My account shouldn't be suspended. Please unsuspend it." Proceed. And obviously, that type of information is not really helpful to make the agent comfortable in his decision to reactivate the account. So what I recommend is provide as much information, basically doing a thorough analysis on what your offer is, what it is about, why it is compliant with the Google policy, and then submit it. But that's mostly it, really. I wish that we had more information about the processes that the policy team follows to make these decisions. Unfortunately, we don't have visibility on that. I think we will never have visibility on that for obvious reasons. So what I recommend, and when I find myself in a situation like yours, I just try to go full on best practices, try to explain as much as I can, build a rationale that makes sense for the person that is reviewing it, and that I feel that will agree with me. And then we are at their hands, basically. And there isn't much more that we can do, and that's just a reality.
Yeah. Okay.
I know it's not, obviously I would like to give you more info, but it's what we have right now.
Yeah, we can dig a bit deeper.
Thank you, Chris, for putting me on the spot. You owe me a beer.
After the panel, yes. And I have a final question, and then we want to open also for audience questions. So if you have some questions, prepare them so we get to it in a few minutes. So my last question would be just, we have to talk about it, even if it's already getting boring to have this AI buzzword. But obviously, in all our lives, AI is increasing, the role of AI is increasing, and I'm automating half of my workflows these days with AI, and I would like to understand a bit better on, first from Alessio, maybe briefly how maybe content providers and also other marketeers can use AI to maybe optimize certain processes, and then also to understand what the role of AI is on Google's side, maybe on the policy side if Louis has something to say, but also in terms of Google Ads, because probably we will see more and more, even if the algorithm is kind of AI for years, right? But obviously with the Gemini AI and everything, I believe we will see more and more impact of this, probably also in the interface, or if there are any changes that are coming up or anything that you can say about it. But maybe I'll ask you first some hints how AI can be used on the marketing side.
Yeah, like me, myself, for example, I probably use AI much less than you, Chris, in general. But for example, I don't like, and I never used to like to create campaigns to come up with new banner ideas, new text ideas mainly. So it's really helpful to help you out with that. Then you always need to polish a little bit with your human brain, but yeah, like it really helps you in creating like different texts for your responsive ads, for example. I really like the beta. I don't know. I think it's still a beta at the moment of the image generation for the responsive ads, and we use that quite a lot. And I have to say that with that I'm quite happy, especially when you are creating video or images related to a more branded content. So like if you have like a proper title of a certain game and stuff, or a proper themed campaign, it's really helpful. And plus is a new feature of Google, so is native inside the platform. And another thing that I like to use the AI for, especially Gemini, is for the appeal and business verification. So it really helps you to create like proper text that are better accepted by Google. I have to say that when you appeal with Gemini, you have like a little bit, I would say like 10% better rescue score of your suspended account, for example. And for BOV, we all know how annoying sometimes this process can be for you when you appeal, because like it asks a lot of questions, but it really helps you cutting off a little bit of time.
Thanks for that. And Louis, maybe a few highlights of what you see how.
Well, I mean, the expectation with Google, I think, is always the same. We will continue to innovate in that space. AI, it's a core part of our company. We've been using machine learning and AI for years now. They're built as a core function of all of the tools that we use today, and we are continuously launching new things and innovation within our own product. So there isn't anything specific that I want to share right now, but yes, 100% we will keep building on like making better the way that we predict results within our platforms and tools, and that's something that we can expect in the next years for sure.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I have one last question, which is also quite specific, but maybe relevant for a lot of content providers, because on the dynamic ads, which are kind of then generated by an AI on Google's side in all the different variations, we faced a lot of issues in certain markets, such as South Africa, I think also Qatar, where we have to put specific information on all banners, like they want the service name, short description, and let's say the price point and billing period. Mm-hmm. And in the dynamic ads, you are limited in space. And also then there are certain variations where not all information would be provided, and then our partners would receive tickets from anti-fraud companies, because here you have an ad and this didn't contain the TNC URL, or this didn't contain the price and the period. Even if we set it on our side on the ads, but let's say, I don't know if you're aware of this issue.
I've had a few clients that have that issue of copyright infringement, I think is the word in English. But yeah, I mean, it's something so specific that we really need to see it case by case and understand really what's triggering it, because it's not common. So if we're facing that, we need to make sure that all the information that is being requested, it's appearing on those assets, and then just present the appeals. From the cases, at least that I've handled, they're easy to solve. So I wouldn't say it's necessarily something that we need to push that much.
Yeah, maybe it's something we need to discuss at another stage, because I believe in many mVAS markets, also we see UAE changed recently, there are new rules. We need to put much more information on the banners.
Yeah.
And if the dynamic ads, are limiting us, or currently it is the case that we are probably just 90% compliant with the regulations of the carrier, because the dynamic ads are being put together, and missing some information, and we cannot do nothing. So maybe it's something we have to raise to Google on some higher level or whatever to see if there can be any additions to be done, so we can ensure that the banners include all the information.
Yeah, 100%. I think what is always helpful is it's always good to have like somewhat of a business case. So if this situation presents with one of your clients, it's always good to make a little briefing of what happened and share that with the account manager that you have or work with, so that we can more or less provide a step-by-step of what to do and what to avoid.
Yeah.
And that obviously will give us, a path to follow. But yeah, I mean, we probably need to discuss like the specific of the case so that I can give you like a more proper developed answer.
Okay, thanks a lot. So I would open the room for questions. I hope there are some questions. Otherwise, we continue talking here for a bit more, if you want. But if there are any questions, then Laurent, just wait for the microphone, please.
Yes, you mentioned on the policy that there is someone triggering the suspension. Is the same person reading the appeal, or someone different? And does he always speak the language in which the page or the banner has been written? So, for example, if we work in Emirates, is it someone speaking Arabic that would look at? And if not, do you suggest that we write appeal in Arabic, in English, in both?
That's a good question. I would say probably most of the times in English, because the person that is gonna review it is not necessarily in the country where the ads are being shown. So the first layer of review, it's an automated process. The second layer, it's a human process. So that guarantees that there's an actual agent looking at your appeal and what you're saying to them. I would say make the appeal in English, because that will give you more scope for the person to read it, and like I said, be as specific and explanatory as you can. I don't know if that answered your question.
Yes and no, because if we only speak English and we have local page, there may be some misunderstanding. So
No, because the person, well, that's a good question, because you're referring to the language on where the asset. Yeah, it really, I mean, it's always good that you are able to translate that page into English.
Yeah.
Okay, because you always have that. So the agent that is going to review it, even if they don't speak the native language of the asset, they're going to be able to translate it into English. Okay, and make the review.
Any further questions?
In the back over there?
Yeah.
Oh.
Hi, Julio from Latin America.
Hi, Julio.
Hi, Chris. For Luis, a question. Perhaps Latin America market is like a few years after Europe, and like we see, like telcos speak one language and Google speaks like another language. The question is, from Google side, are you working to have any enrichment to the telcos or something like that? You're working in there, and this industry, vast industry, is interesting to Google and I don't know who make the question, to go further with all this market?
Yeah, I mean, 100% is that it's an interesting industry for Google. We've done a series of steps to bring it together as much as we can. We definitely don't have like an ongoing conversation with the telcos on that regard. It's more with the content providers and the media buyers in that sense. I wouldn't say that Latin America is I mean, at least not to the knowledge that I have, but I think it's there are some players in Latin America that are the same level of some European players. For Google, it's definitely interesting. It will be, I mean, you will get more attention, more positive attention, if we manage, to get the industry to a point where Google feel comfortable, working with everybody in the space. And as of now, Google has decided to be selective on that aspect, just because we've seen over time that there's a lot of offers and traffic out there that we really don't want to push. So that's something, yes, that it's a conversation that we can start, but I will also push you guys in this industry to have that type of conversation. We had a summit, a mVAS summit in our Dublin offices last year, and that was one of the main topics of conversation. Like, okay, we as Google can do some things, but you as an industry, what are you guys doing as well? Are you talking to each other? Are you really being honest and transparent in the way that you want to do business? Are you actually promoting best practices so that the traffic becomes more reliable within Google channels? And Google, will always be a third party in that conversation. So I think it's up to all of us to try to create the right environment so those things actually are actionable, and then probably this, wave of suspensions and issues and accounts not being able to launch, etc., will pass. That's my opinion. I hope that gives you an answer.
Any further questions?
Thank you. One question for Luis. Simple question. Is DCB as an only one option for promoting a service could be an issue for Google if we don't have credit card option or only DCB, even if we target only 3G connection?
If I understood correctly, I would say probably DCB is the riskiest of them all.
Yeah.
So if you have another, like there's no issue in pushing products with other, well, obviously with an asterisk there, but a credit card subscription model is much more compliant from the Google standpoint than DCB, for sure. Just because of how it works, right? You don't have to go to a pre-lander, you're asking the user for more information. There is a manifest intent of subscription, and a lot of flows within DCB can be, a little on the edge there.
Just another one for Selwyn. Is Meta allow 3G targeting?
Sorry?
In a Meta, we could target a 3G connection only, or because I believe we have Wi-Fi and 3G target in the same area, we can't target only 3G. So for mVAS, is the results are good or not in Meta with Facebook, Instagram, and?
I mean, most partners we work with, they tend to use or to work with products that have the broadest carrier targeting possible, just not to leave anything out, because sometimes the targeting can be a bit of an issue. So usually through Facebook or through any other channels, also TikTok is being used mostly for promotion for services that have the broadest carrier targeting possible in one setup. For example, let's say between 60–70% of carrier targeting or of carrier coverage within a country is what has been proven to work the best for those channels.
Maybe as a small hint, in certain platforms also, we didn't talk about native, but native traffic is also more and more a relevant traffic source in certain markets. And officially, a lot of those networks, they don't have carrier targeting or 3G targeting, but if you have good relationships, it's possible. So that's also a hint, and the same can also apply to some of the social media platforms that are still kind of limited because it was never relevant for them to offer this option on 3G targeting, because besides our small group of mVAS providers, no one cares about it, but in theory, a lot of those things are technically possible with those platforms, yeah.
Okay, great. Thanks, Guy.
There are no further questions, then I think we have 2 more minutes and we finished pretty much nicely on time. And I don't see a hand. So thanks everyone for attending our panel. I hope we shared a few insightful topics to you. And if you want to, one last question, 1 minute. Go ahead.
I have a question for Luis. Sometimes our assets got just approved just because of policy issues like misleading information, online gambling, but actually we are not able to understand but what kind of misleading information is there when banners are related to our services only, but still they got disapproved.
Yeah, I mean, in that part, we really don't have specific information that can be beneficial for your case. What I do is, or the logic that I try to apply in those cases is more or less like doing reverse engineering. So being very knowledgeable about what the policy is saying, and then building a case on why that policy shouldn't apply to you, and provide as much information as possible. But like it's two different worlds. So the world that I'm in really has no relation whatsoever with the policy world. I'm just affected by it as all of you here. Obviously, from my time in like working with this industry and the amount of clients that I've worked with in the past, I more or less have a sense on what to do and what not. But at the end of the day, it doesn't really. I don't have like a final answer on that topic. So my recommendation will always be, if you feel like you shouldn't be targeted by that specific policy, be super mindful and develop and share as much information as you can on why that policy shouldn't be applying to you, and go through the normal review process.
Okay, thank you.
Maybe from my side, last hint, what Alessio already tackled, ask Google Gemini AI, those questions. You can paste in the text on the policy that was applied to your case, and you don't get the final answer, but you get good hints, you ask, you explain a bit your situation, and I mean, the AI is kind of also Google, so you definitely get some actionable insights on helping you, okay, what could be the next step also for your appeal. So that's also very helpful, I believe.
If I may, not only like when you have, like, for example, you said that you get a gambling policy applied. When something like this happens, apart from appealing, what I like to do is engaging an argument with the support team of Google.
It takes time.
Yeah, it takes time. It takes time also because you need to explain them properly. But I would say that when you do it like that, is a human checking your ads, understanding your issue, and even if it takes time, unfortunately, the rescue rate is very high.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so we finished on time. Thanks a lot again, everyone, for participating. I hope it was good for you. Thank you.
Thank you.
So many